we are going to review how to solve and graph quadratic functions in standard form. Okay, so this is stuff that you guys should have done with Ms. Smith, and I just want to make sure that we are all on the same page when we start working on this topic. Okay, so what is a quadratic function? Feel free to talk out loud or put it in the chat. Okay, whenever you guys are ready, what do you think a quadratic function is, and what do you think standard form is? I want to know what you remember. Okay, these are things we can graph. Okay, that's linear lines. Quadratic functions. Standard form. Not that's the slope-intercept form, Jocelyn. Veronica, I'm pretty sure when I tell you guys, you're definitely going to be like, oh yeah, I remember that. Standard form. Quadratics. Information at the palm of your hand. You can do it, guys. You have a hint right there. Okay, Jarek, that is the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Very good, Stephanie. A parabola. What does a parabola look like? A U, very good. So that's the first thing we're talking about and when we're dealing with quadratics, is a parabola is a U-shaped graph. Okay? So, what else do you remember about quadratics? A parabola, U-shaped graphs. What else did you guys talk about in this, Smith? Let's dig into those old thoughts. Let's dust off that brain. What else do you remember? The letter U. My daughter wants to work with us on math. Not necessarily, Stephanie. You were on the right track. But what else do we remember? If I were to draw a dashed line through the center, what is that? What do you remember what that was called? Not the y-axis, but what does that line do to that parabola? What did it do? There is a vertex. This point here is what we call the vertex, which is the highest or lowest point of the graph. It splits it in half. Very good. Very good, Chris. This is called the line of symmetry. Which is another word for line is also axis of symmetry. And this is what we call the AOS. And like Jocelyn said, it makes it the same on each side. So it's kind of like a reflection of the left side and the right side. Okay? So this just cuts it in half. Whatever's happening on the left side of a parabola is going to be happening on the right side of the parabola. Okay? Very good. Like I said, this is the highest or lowest. When the graph shapes up, it's the lowest point. And when the graph faces down, that is the lowest. Okay? So these are a few things that you guys are going to need to remember, but you are still not off the hook because what is standard form? What's the difference in formulas with a line and a parabola? That's true, one is curved, but in terms of the formulas. Very good, Jarek. We are going to have an x squared, and there is an ABC in there. Anybody know? I'll give you a hint. Y equals ax squared. What should come next? Plus bx, very good, Maricela. And then the last term is plus c, very good. So we have y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, very good. So this is what we call standard form. Okay? This is standard form for a quadratic function. Are there any questions? Definitely got to dust off those brains, guys. Got to wake them up. Okay? So let's turn to the next page. Okay, so again, to review. Standard form of a quadratic function. Somebody say it out loud for me. Out loud, out loud. Loud and proud. Very good. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Somebody tell me what a parabola is. What is a parabola? Very good. A U-shaped graph. I'm not saying you're going to have a test with these words on it, but you are. Okay, so now that we got that stuff out of the way, now I'm going to show you how these graphs are constructed. So the parent function of a quadratic is y equals x squared. So that's what the graph is going to look like when we are looking at quadratics. This is the basic form, okay? So for us to find the points, we are going to need to make a t-chart, a data table, and I'm going to pick -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay? I'm going to take these guys, and what is this side called? What are they called when we plug them in? That was a hint too. What do you do when you plug them in? What are they called? Not output. They're going to be inputs. So these guys are going to be our inputs. And that makes this side, like what Jarek said, the outputs. I'm making sure you guys can see everything okay. All right, so now we're going to take those inputs and we're going to plug them in to see what we're going to get. So I'm going to go y equals, and I'm going to plug in -3. So -3 squared. What does that give us? Very good. I like seeing you guys use the chat to give me answers and talk. We're having a data debate right now. Some people are saying +9. Some people are saying -9. -3 squared. What is this? Means -3 times -3. So a negative times a negative is a, and all of you said it out loud in your head, positive. So this should give us a +9. So when I plug in -3, I get +9. What about when I plug in -2? 2 times 2 gives us a +4. Very good. -1 gives us 1. And then 0 squared gives us 0. Okay? So now, I'm going to show you something. We're going to plug things in. So I'm going to put -3, +9. I'm going to plot that. So I have -3, 9, -2, 4, and -1, 1. And then 0, 0. Okay. Notice that this is going here. What do you think is going to happen on the other side? Very good. It's going to mirror it. So what's another word for mirror? It'll be a reflection. Very good. I see mirror and reflection, which are two good terms. So 1 is going to give us 1. 2 is going to give us 4. And 3 is going to give us 9. So the same point should be reflected on the other side. And that's okay. We don't need to see the class, or I'm talking out loud, so feel free to talk out loud. It's okay. So this point, this line here in the middle, this is our line of reflection. And you're going to see that the parabola is going to look the same on both sides. My drawing isn't beautiful, but you would see a symmetric parabola. So that's the basics of what we would see for a parabola. Are there any questions? Okay. All right. Yes, feel free to use the restroom, but you might want to make sure you're putting your volume on loud. Okay? Or your volume, not your mic. Okay, so now, like we said before, we have standard form that we are going to be working with. We need to be able to identify which terms are the A, the B, and the C. This is very similar to what you guys did with the quadratic formula. So for this one, in the chat, what do you think A is going to be? In the chat, what do you think A is going to equal? So you're making a private chat to me. Just the A. There shouldn't be any x squared in your answer. Or any x's. So your a should be negative 4. What should be the letter b equal to? You guys are killing it. I'm loving the chat. I love seeing the responses. Just like my son's shoe size, the answer is 8 in toddlers, not in adult size. All right, and then letter C. What is C? Very good. C is 2. Good. I like what I'm seeing. Okay, next one. What is A? What is A going to be for the second one? I like the wording, Isaac. Very good. Okay, it's going to be negative 3/4. So negative 3 over 4. B. Emily's beating me to the punch. You guys are saying that it's going to be negative 4. And C, we see that it's going to be negative 1. I feel like it's like a race. You guys are just putting the buttons, push enter. Who gets it faster? Okay, very good. Okay, last one. What is A? What is A? I see a mixture of answers. Is the answer 1/2 or negative 3? And the answer is 1/2. Make sure to put in order. You got to make sure you put in order. The A is always next to the x squared. So it should be written as 1/2 x squared plus x minus 3. So A is 1/2, B is 1, and C is negative 3. Okay? We always need to make sure that we're paying attention to detail. A is always the term that's next to the x squared. Okay? Are there any questions? Feel free to say them out loud or in the chat. Okay, I hear no questions out loud, and I don't see any in the chat. You guys are breezing through this. Okay. So, going over a few vocabulary. Okay, so now I'm going to go over a few things just so that you guys get all the information that you need. Okay. So the x value of the vertex is the axis of symmetry, or what I also refer to as the AOS. And the y value of the vertex is when you plug in the AOS into the original equation. And you get the answer. That one doesn't make sense. That is okay, because I am going to explain all of this in detail in a second. Now, the way we find the axis of symmetry is with the formula x equals negative b over 2a. And the c in the quadratic function is our y-intercept. So that'll be our 0, comma C. So if A is positive, which way do you think the graph is going to face? Is it going to face up or down? If our A is positive, the graph faces, just like Jocelyn said, up. So our graph should look like a happy face. If A is negative, the graph faces down. And it looks like a sad face. Happy, sad. Okay? So this is information that you are going to need to know, and you are going to need to make sure that you understand. Okay? Because you will have to be able to remember that when you take a quiz or you take a test. Okay? For the future, like today, your quizzes and tests are going to be timed, and you will only get one opportunity or two, depending on how I feel, to answer the question. Okay? Are there any questions about any of this information? Okay, so let's just try a problem. Okay, so for example 1, they give us negative 2x squared minus 4x minus 5. Write down these steps. Okay, step 1 is to identify your A, your B, and your C. So in this case, A equals negative 2, B equals negative 4, and C equals negative 5. So the best way to answer all these questions is to go from the bottom to the top, from the easiest to the more complex. So can we answer if this graph is going to go up or down? Put your answer in the chat. Is this graph going to be going up or down? Okay, I see a lot of people answering. Who would like to tell us why they picked their answer as down? Why is the answer down? Very good, Jesse, because A is negative. Because A is negative, that's why the graph is going down. It's not necessarily because all of the numbers are negative. The only number that matters is A for this case. Now the y-intercept. What is the y-intercept? Put it in the chat. Very good. Natalie and Jocelyn definitely hit the nail on the head. Your answer is not just negative 5. Emily did as well. It is 0, comma, negative 5. Because we have 0, comma, C. Okay? So make sure you remember that. We're writing it as a coordinate. 0, comma, C. Okay? Our axis of symmetry is the formula x equals negative b over 2a. The one thing that you are going to want to note is that there is a negative already in front of the b. So as we write this, we're going to put the negative first and then plug in what b is. So we're going to plug in a negative 4 over 2 times a. So a negative times a negative 4 gives us a positive 4 over negative 4. So 4 divided by negative 4 gives us our axis of symmetry, which is negative 1. So now to find our vertex, we take our axis of symmetry and we plug it in to our original equation. So we take our axis of symmetry and we plug it into our original equation. So I have f of x equals negative 2x squared minus 4x minus 5. So I take this negative 1 from our axis of symmetry and I plug it in. Now at this point, we do need to remember PEMDAS, the order of operations. Can we do anything inside of this parenthesis? And your answer should be no, because the only thing we have inside the parentheses is a negative 1. So then the next thing is we do the exponent. So negative 1 has a power of 2. So negative 1 squared is positive 1. And then nothing else has an exponent. Now after that, we multiply. Negative 2 times 1, negative 2, negative 4 and negative 1, positive 4, minus 5. So negative 2 plus 4 is positive 2, minus 5, negative 3. So now we have our vertex as negative 1, comma, negative 3. So information that is important to us right now as we are going to graph is our vertex, our axis of symmetry, our y-intercept, and the direction of our graph. Are there any questions so far? F of x is just another way of saying y. It's saying the function with respect to x. So it's just f of x is the same thing as saying y equals. And it just tells you what we're plugging in. Okay, good question. Okay, so let's start graphing. This one I am going to write each of the steps. So step 1, you're going to plot the vertex. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to plot the vertex. So our vertex is at -1, -3. So we're going to plug that in. -1, 1, 2, 3. So there's our vertex. Step 2, we are going to draw the axis of symmetry. I'll draw it as a blue line.
Give your brother some privacy.
Step 3,
See all Layla's books?
we're going to plot the y-intercept. So in this case, our y-intercept is 0, -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, do we have enough information to graph our parabola? What are we missing? I feel like we're missing something.
No, you have to wait for brother to do that.
What are we missing? Can I draw a U-shaped graph? I don't need to draw a table. Use your imagination. What can I do? Axis of symmetry. Another name is line of reflection. I need another dot. You're right. How do I know where to put that other dot? Oh. Who else thinks something? Around the vertex. You're right. It's going to be around the vertex. But one thing that Jocelyn said was, hey, can we reflect? Veronica, you agree with her too, right? We can reflect this y-intercept over the line. The y-intercept is one space away from the line, so the next point should be one space away from it as well. So step 4, reflect the y-intercept. So now, since we know our graph is going down, it makes sense. And there's our parabola. Are there any questions? Because you're about to do one right now. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to solve and graph this guy. Trying to get it centered for you guys. So I want you to put in the chat, what is the graph going up or down? What's the y-intercept? Where's the axis of symmetry? And what's the vertex? So you're going to send a private chat to me. You're going to have 5 minutes. Your time starts now.
You're done? Okay, I'm coming. Now it's my turn. Yeah, now it's your turn. Hold on, let me first clean the toilet. Move, Layla, move. Excuse me.
Okay, you can put all your answers together. So I do agree with you, Isaac and Stephanie. Try again, Corey. So I see a lot of you guys are saying that the graph is going to face up because our A is positive. Very good, Maricela. Very good, Stephanie. Very good, Veronica. Very good, Natalie. Very good, Corey. I see the y-intercept. You guys wrote it as 0, 5, which I agree with as well. Axis of symmetry. Try again, Jerk. Remember, there's a negative b. So negative, negative 4. So you would get a negative, negative 4, which gives us a positive 4, all over 2, which we simplify to 2, which I've seen most of your answers, so very good. Keep going, guys. Remember, your B goes at the top, and your A in this case is 1. So 4 over 2. Okay, about 30 seconds. I want you to definitely tell me what the vertex is. I've seen quite a few answers that look pretty good. Let's kind of start you off. Okay, so let's crack this egg together. So we have 2 squared, which is 4, minus 8 plus 5. 4 minus 8 is negative 4. Negative 4 plus 5 gives us 1. So our vertex is 2, 1. So now let's graph using the steps we used above. 2, 1. Our axis of symmetry, or line of reflection. Our y-intercept is 0, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why is x equal 2? Because that was our axis of symmetry. Because when we did negative, negative 4, that gives us positive 4, divided by 2. So our axis of symmetry was 2. So flip this over, 1, 2 spaces, 1, 2. Now we have enough information to draw a parabola.
A tiger. You're supposed to be reading with her. You're supposed to be like this.
And that's it.
This is her book. You're her big brother. You have to teach her. Abel, are you done? No, you're not supposed to wipe your butt. Mommy is.
Are there any questions? Okay, I don't see any questions in the chat. Oh, okay, the mirroring part is still a little confusing. Okay, if you want to say out loud what is confusing about it. Now, let me explain it before, let me try to see if I can clarify. So the mirroring, when we have the line of reflection, whatever your y-intercept is, so this is 2 spaces away from the line. So 1, 2, 1, 2. So we have to make it the same distance on the other side so that we make the parabola. 1, 2. Did that answer your question? Okay. Good question, because I know it could be a little confusing because you're like, why did you put that point at that spot? It's just the distance from the line. Okay.